there's such a core audience for these Rambo films. It's such an iconic character, and I mean, it goes back, almost 30 years. And during that time, there has always been a demand for John Rambo. There's something about Rambo that kind of sits in the American psyche and Americans can relate to, and something very patriotic about that character, something about an underdog who has gone through trials and tribulations and has always managed to survive. And I think that character is a character that a lot of people can identify with and feel for. It's not, some kind of comic book character where you don't understand their psyche. Rambo is a man with flaws, a man with sort of a checkered past, with issues having to do with what he's gone through his life, all kind of wrapped up in a human being, and I think the audience identifies with that. He's not a cookie cutter character. He's somebody who is always kind of changing and evolving throughout the franchise. So for me, we all knew that there would be a demand to see him at least one final time and in a different stage in his life. For the set of Rambo's Ranch, what we needed to find a very specific setting, a very specific location, and we looked in a lot of places. But Rambo is a character, and the ranch itself, the house, the barn, the forge, the tunnels, all those are very Rambo specific. And you can't just go out and search and find all of that in one location or even two or three locations. So what we did was we approached it from, let's first find the piece of land that will match and will basically say something about Rambo's character and where he is. A sprawling piece of land surrounded by beautiful mountains, a place where he can go and live out the rest of his life in peace. And then to build on that, then we would build what is the kind of house he would live in. Are there horses, which there are, corrals? He's now into the reining aspects of the horses. He's into doing his hand labor, all the stuff that kind of keeps him ticking and things that give him purpose. So we found this location in Sofia, a beautiful piece of land where we could build the house and build the barn, and it was a complete build, and build the tunnels, everything, so that we could reflect that as part of his character. One of our challenges for this shoot was, while we decided we would do the ranch building here and the tunnels and most of the action here, because Bulgaria is very easy to get that done, and you get it done with big production value. We also needed a Mexican look for the Mexican part of the story, which Bulgaria doesn't have. And we were looking for the places. We thought, well, maybe at first the idea was to go to Mexico, but that would have really fragmented the shoot and taken us out of Europe, and there were scheduling issues with actors, and we thought, well, where could we possibly go in Europe to do this? And it was Spain, but Spain itself, it doesn't necessarily have a lot of the Mexico elements, particularly the landscapes. And on top of that, we also needed some Arizona-type landscapes. So somebody told us, well, you should check out Tenerife. It's a great location. It's an island, and at first I thought, an island, but how many looks can an island have? And then I went to Tenerife, and I saw not only the architecture, the buildings, it's Spanish and it's Latin, and it fits perfectly for Mexico. But on top of that, Tenerife is just an amazing island in terms of the variety of landscapes and looks you have. You can be on the beach in the morning, and by 11 o'clock you're driving up a mountain and you find yourself in the most incredible green pine forest that you've ever seen, and then you go up a little further, and you're in Arizona desert, real rocky Arizona desert with the Arizona red and the mountains, and you go up even a little further, and then it's almost like you're on the moon, the surface of the moon. So it's an amazing place to shoot a movie. You can shoot, almost any landscape there that you can think of, and even snow, by the way, at the top of the mountain. But it was just such a perfect fit for this movie. We needed two guys who could play brothers and who could play really kind of despicable brothers who have no regard for human life, who the sex trade and the sex trafficking is just a business. It's a $20 billion business, but for them, it's all about the goods. And they had to be this way in order to trigger Rambo into action, because nothing was going to pull Rambo from them. And we found these two guys, and they are just amazing actors. If you look at their body of work, they can play, they can play good guys, but when they decide to play, these villains, you are just like, oh, you hate them, and you want Rambo to go after them. And so the chemistry there was perfect.